In the spring of 1944, Chartres, a city steeped in history and renowned for its stunning Gothic cathedral, stood as a silent witness to the ravages of war. The once vibrant streets, echoing with the laughter of children and the chatter of market vendors, now bore the heavy burden of German occupation. The cathedral's towering spires, which had long symbolized hope and faith, were overshadowed by the grim presence of German soldiers, whose patrols instilled fear in the hearts of the local populace. The air was thick with tension, as the citizens of Chartres navigated their daily lives under the watchful eyes of their occupiers, grappling with the harsh realities of rationing, curfews, and the constant threat of violence. Amidst this oppressive atmosphere, the German military command in Chartres held a dismissive view of the local resistance efforts. The Francs-Tireurs et Partisans, a coalition of French resistance fighters, were perceived by the occupiers as little more than a nuisance. This group, primarily composed of young men and women, included individuals like 18-year-old Simone, known by her codename Nicole. To the German officers, Simone was merely a child, her youth and gender rendering her incapable of posing any real threat to their military operations. This underestimation was not an isolated incident. It reflected a broader misconception that permeated the ranks of the occupying forces, leading them to overlook the tenacity and resourcefulness of the French resistance. Simone Seguin, born on October 3, 1925, in Thivars, a small village just outside Chartres, was acutely aware of the hardships inflicted by the occupation. Her family, like many others, had suffered under the weight of war, and she harbored a fierce desire to see her homeland liberated from Nazi control. Despite her tender age, Simone was resolute in her commitment to the resistance, driven by an unwavering sense of patriotism and justice. Her involvement began with small acts of defiance, such as distributing anti-German pamphlets and gathering intelligence on troop movements, actions that would lay the groundwork for her more significant contributions to the resistance. The German officers, however, remained oblivious to the growing threat posed by the resistance. They continued to underestimate the capabilities of young fighters like Simone, viewing them as inconsequential rather than formidable adversaries. This misjudgment would soon prove to be a costly error, as the resolve of the resistance fighters began to coalesce into a powerful force, ready to challenge the occupiers' authority. As spring transitioned into summer, the situation in Chartres became increasingly volatile. The German military command, focused on maintaining order and suppressing dissent, failed to recognize the burgeoning momentum of the resistance movement. This oversight would soon lead to a series of events that would not only challenge their authority but also alter the course of the occupation in Chartres. The city, once a bastion of tranquility, was on the brink of transformation, as the spirit of resistance began to ignite within its inhabitants. The year 1944 marked a pivotal moment in the history of World War II, as the tides of war began to shift dramatically in favor of the Allied forces. The D-Day landings in Normandy on June 6, 1944, had opened a new front in the war, and the French resistance was poised to play a crucial role in the liberation of their country. In Chartres, the Francs-Tireurs et Partisans were among the many groups that emerged to challenge the German occupation, drawing strength from the growing momentum of the Allied advance. The geography of Chartres, with its strategic location just 90 kilometers southwest of Paris, made it a significant focal point for both the German military and the resistance. The city was crisscrossed by vital transportation routes, including roads and railways that connected Paris to the western regions of France. This made it an essential hub for German supply lines, and the resistance fighters recognized the importance of disrupting these logistics to weaken the occupiers' hold on the area. Daily life in Chartres under German occupation was fraught with challenges. The local populace faced severe food shortages due to rationing, and the black market flourished as residents sought to obtain basic necessities. Curfews were strictly enforced, and any perceived act of defiance could result in brutal reprisals from the German authorities. The atmosphere was one of constant fear, as the Gestapo and other security forces conducted raids to root out suspected resistance members. Yet, amid this oppression, a spirit of defiance began to take root, fueled by the desire for liberation and the hope of an Allied victory. The Francs-Tireurs et Partisans, formed in the early years of the occupation, consisted of a diverse group of individuals united by a common goal, the liberation of France. Their ranks included not only young men and women like Simone Seguin, but also veterans of the First World War, workers, and intellectuals. This diversity enriched the resistance movement, bringing together various skills and perspectives that would prove invaluable in their struggle against the occupiers. Resistance logistics were complex and required careful planning and coordination. The fighters relied on a network of safe houses, sympathetic civilians, and clandestine communication methods to organize their operations. They gathered intelligence on German troop movements, sabotaged supply lines, and executed ambushes on German patrols. Each successful operation not only disrupted the occupiers' military capabilities, but also served to inspire the local population, demonstrating that resistance was possible and effective. By the time the spring of 1944 progressed, the resistance in Chartres began to gain momentum. Reports of sabotage and guerrilla attacks became more frequent, and the occupiers struggled to maintain their grip on the region. The German command, still underestimating the capabilities of young fighters like Simone, failed to recognize the growing unity and determination among the resistance fighters. This miscalculation would soon lead to a confrontation that would test the resolve of both the occupiers and the resistance. The broader context of World War II also played a significant role in shaping the resistance efforts in Chartres. The Allied forces were not only advancing in France, but also gaining ground in other theaters of the war. The success of the Soviet Union on the Eastern Front and the relentless bombing campaigns over Germany contributed to a sense of impending defeat among the Axis powers. The resistance fighters in Chartres were acutely aware of these developments and were determined to capitalize on the shifting tides of war to reclaim their homeland. When the summer of 1944 approached, the resistance prepared for a dramatic confrontation between the German occupiers and the resolute resistance fighters. The city of Chartres, once a symbol of peace and tranquility, was on the brink of transformation, as the spirit of resistance ignited a collective desire for liberation among its inhabitants. The actions of young fighters like Simone Seguin would soon become emblematic of this struggle, challenging the perceptions of both the occupiers and the broader society. By August 1944, the situation in Chartres had reached a boiling point. The Allied forces were advancing through France, their liberation campaign gaining momentum with each passing day. The German troops stationed in Chartres, acutely aware of the impending threat, fortified their positions and prepared for a confrontation. The atmosphere in the city was tense, as both occupiers and civilians braced for the inevitable clash. Simone Seguin and her fellow resistance fighters, emboldened by the progress of the Allied forces, intensified their efforts to disrupt German operations. They launched a series of coordinated attacks, targeting German patrols and supply convoys. These skirmishes, though small in scale, were strategically significant, as they diverted German resources and attention away from the advancing Allies. The resistance fighters, familiar with the local terrain, used their knowledge to their advantage. They executed ambushes and surprise attacks, leveraging the element of surprise to overcome the better-equipped German forces. Simone, with her keen strategic mind and unwavering courage, played a pivotal role in these operations. Her leadership and tactical acumen earned her the respect of her peers, who looked to her for guidance in the heat of battle. By the time the confrontation in Chartres escalated, the German command found themselves increasingly on the defensive. The resistance fighters, though outnumbered and outgunned, demonstrated remarkable resilience and ingenuity. Their actions not only disrupted German operations but also provided valuable intelligence to the advancing Allied forces. The resistance's efforts were instrumental in paving the way for the eventual liberation of Chartres. The battle for Chartres was a turning point in the struggle for liberation. It highlighted the critical role played by the resistance in undermining German control and demonstrated the power of collective action in the face of overwhelming odds. The courage and determination of individuals like Simone Seguin served as a testament to the spirit of the French resistance, their actions laying the foundation for the eventual liberation of their homeland. When the summer sun beat down on the cobblestone streets of Chartres, the tension was palpable. The German forces, fortified and prepared for a fight, were not merely defending their positions, they were fighting for their very survival in a war that was rapidly turning against them. The resistance fighters, on the other hand, were fueled by a sense of urgency and purpose, their spirits buoyed by the knowledge that the Allies were closing in. Simone and her comrades had spent countless hours planning their next moves, gathering intelligence, and coordinating with other resistance cells. They understood that every successful operation could tip the scales in favor of the Allies and bring them one step closer to liberation. The stakes were high, and the risks were greater than ever, but the resolve of the resistance fighters was unwavering. On one fateful day, Simone and her group received word of a German convoy transporting supplies and reinforcements through a nearby village. This convoy was crucial for the German command, and its disruption could significantly hinder their operations. With a sense of purpose, Simone gathered her team and laid out a bold plan to intercept the convoy. The operation required meticulous planning. They would need to position themselves strategically along the route, utilizing the dense underbrush and natural cover to conceal their presence. Simone emphasized the importance of timing. They would have one chance to execute the ambush successfully. The group, a mix of seasoned fighters and eager newcomers, listened intently as she detailed the plan, her confidence instilling a sense of determination in each member. When dawn broke on the day of the operation, the resistance fighters took their positions, hearts pounding with anticipation. The air was thick with tension, the silence only broken by the distant sounds of the approaching convoy. Simone, armed with her rifle, felt a mix of adrenaline and fear, but she pushed those feelings aside, focusing on the mission at hand. Finally, the rumble of engines grew louder, and the convoy came into view. Simone signaled to her comrades, and they held their breath, waiting for the right moment to strike. As the convoy approached, she could see the German soldiers, their faces tense and alert, unaware of the ambush that awaited them. With a swift motion, Simone gave the signal, and chaos erupted. Gunfire rang out, echoing through the countryside as the resistance fighters launched their attack. The Germans, caught off guard, scrambled to respond, but the element of surprise was on the side of the resistance. Simone moved with precision, directing her comrades and maintaining the pressure on the German soldiers. The battle was fierce, with bullets flying and shouts of command echoing in the air. Simone's leadership shone through as she coordinated the attack, ensuring that her fighters remained focused and effective. The resistance fighters, though outnumbered, fought with fierce determination, their resolve fueled by the desire for liberation. Within minutes, the resistance fighters had overwhelmed the convoy, capturing several German soldiers and seizing valuable supplies. The success of the operation sent shockwaves through the German command, who were now acutely aware of the growing threat posed by the resistance. The captured soldiers provided crucial intelligence that would aid the advancing Allied forces, further solidifying the importance of the resistance's efforts. As news of the ambush spread, the morale of the resistance fighters soared. They had achieved a significant victory against a formidable opponent, and the local population, long oppressed by the German occupation, was invigorated by their bravery. Simone, once underestimated by the German officers, had proven her mettle and emerged as a formidable leader. The battle for Chartres was not merely a series of skirmishes, it was a testament to the power of collective action and the spirit of the French resistance. The courage displayed by Simone and her comrades inspired others to join the fight, swelling the ranks of the resistance and further challenging the German occupiers. As the liberation of Chartres drew nearer, the resistance fighters continued to press forward, determined to reclaim their homeland. The German command, now on the defensive, struggled to maintain control over the region, their grip on power slipping with each passing day. The actions of the resistance fighters, led by individuals like Simone Seguin, had become a critical component of the broader struggle for freedom. The confrontation in Chartres was emblematic of a larger movement sweeping across France, as the resistance became an integral part of the effort to liberate the country from Nazi occupation. The bravery and determination of young fighters like Simone served as a reminder that age and gender were no barriers to courage and effectiveness in the fight for liberation. As the summer of 1944 progressed, the battle for Chartres became a defining moment in the struggle against oppression. The courage of the resistance fighters, their audacity in the face of overwhelming odds, and their unwavering commitment to the cause of liberation would be remembered as a pivotal chapter in the history of the French resistance. As the summer of 1944 unfolded, the air in Chartres was thick with tension. The Allied forces were advancing steadily through France, and the German occupiers were becoming increasingly desperate. The resistance efforts, previously dismissed by the Germans, were now gaining momentum and audacity. It was during this volatile period that Simone Seguin, an 18-year-old resistance fighter, would execute a daring operation that would shift the balance of power in the region. On a humid August morning, Simone and her small band of resistance fighters gathered in a secluded farmhouse on the outskirts of Chartres. The group, consisting of both seasoned fighters and eager newcomers, was united by a singular purpose: to disrupt the German war machine and hasten the liberation of their homeland. Simone, with her characteristic determination, outlined the plan for their next mission: a surprise attack on a German patrol known to traverse a nearby road. The operation was fraught with risk. The German patrols were heavily armed and well-trained, but Simone and her comrades had an advantage: intimate knowledge of the local terrain. The resistance fighters had spent months familiarizing themselves with the fields, forests, and backroads of Chartres, turning the landscape into a strategic asset. Simone's plan hinged on the element of surprise, a tactic that had served the resistance well in previous skirmishes. At first light, the resistance fighters took their positions, concealed by the dense foliage that lined the road. Simone, armed with a rifle she had taken from a German soldier months earlier, was at the forefront, her eyes fixed on the horizon. The tension was palpable, each moment stretching into an eternity as they awaited the arrival of the patrol. Finally, the sound of engines broke the silence, and the German convoy came into view. Simone signaled to her comrades, and with a swift, coordinated effort, they launched their attack. Gunfire erupted, echoing through the countryside as the resistance fighters engaged the unsuspecting patrol. The Germans, caught off guard, scrambled to respond, but the resistance had the upper hand. In the chaos that ensued, Simone's leadership shone through. She moved with precision and confidence, directing her comrades and maintaining the pressure on the German soldiers. Her strategic thinking and calm demeanor under fire were instrumental in the success of the operation. Within minutes, the resistance fighters had overwhelmed the patrol, capturing 25 German soldiers. The capture of these prisoners was a significant victory for the resistance. It not only deprived the German forces of manpower but also provided the resistance with valuable intelligence. The prisoners were interrogated, yielding information about German troop movements and supply lines, which would prove crucial in the coming days. News of the daring operation spread quickly through Chartres and beyond. The local population, long oppressed by the German occupation, was invigorated by the success of the young resistance fighters. Simone, once underestimated by the German officers, had proven her mettle and emerged as a formidable leader. Her actions challenged the perceptions of both the occupiers and her fellow countrymen, demonstrating that age and gender were no barriers to courage and effectiveness in the fight for liberation. The capture of the German soldiers marked a turning point in the resistance efforts in Chartres. It galvanized the local populace, inspiring more civilians to join the fight against the occupiers. The German command, now acutely aware of the growing threat posed by the resistance, intensified their efforts to root out collaborators, leading to increased violence and reprisals against the civilian population. Yet, despite the heightened danger, the resolve of the resistance fighters only strengthened. Simone's bravery and strategic acumen had earned her the respect of her peers and instilled fear in the German ranks. Her actions were a testament to the power of determination and the impact that even the youngest members of the resistance could have in the struggle for freedom. As the liberation of Chartres drew nearer, Simone Seguin's story became emblematic of the collective struggle against oppression, a narrative that would resonate long after the war had ended. The aftermath of the operation revealed the profound impact of their success. The captured soldiers, once symbols of the occupying force, became pawns in the larger game of war. The intelligence gathered from them provided the resistance with critical insights into German strategies, troop movements, and supply routes. This information was relayed to the Allied command, further solidifying collaboration between the resistance and the advancing forces. As the resistance fighters celebrated their victory, the mood in Chartres shifted. The local population, inspired by the audacity of the resistance, began to see the possibility of liberation as a tangible reality. Civilians who had previously remained passive now felt compelled to act, offering their support in various forms: shelter, food, and intelligence. The resistance network expanded rapidly, drawing in individuals from all walks of life who were united by a common goal, the liberation of France. Simone's actions during the capture of the German soldiers became a rallying point for the resistance. Her story was shared in hushed whispers among the townsfolk, and her name became synonymous with bravery and defiance. The German officers, in time, faced a formidable adversary whose resolve and cunning had proven to be a significant threat. The repercussions of the operation extended beyond the immediate context of Chartres. The capture of the German soldiers sent shockwaves through the occupying forces, prompting a reassessment of their strategy in the region. The German command, now acutely aware of the growing threat posed by the resistance, intensified their efforts to root out collaborators, leading to increased violence and reprisals against the civilian population. House raids, arrests, and executions became more frequent as the Germans sought to quell the rising tide of resistance. Despite the heightened danger, the resolve of the resistance fighters only strengthened. The capture of the German soldiers had demonstrated the power of unity and determination, reinforcing their commitment to the cause. Simone Seguin, once underestimated by the German officers, had become a symbol of defiance and resilience. Her actions served as a rallying point for the resistance, inspiring others to stand up against the occupiers. As the liberation of Chartres drew nearer, the effect of the resistance efforts became increasingly apparent. The German occupiers, once confident in their control over the region, were now on the defensive, their grip on power slipping with each passing day. The resistance, fueled by the success of their operations and the support of the local population, continued to press forward, determined to reclaim their homeland. Simone's bravery and strategic thinking had not only captured the attention of her peers but also challenged traditional perceptions of gender roles in warfare. As a young woman leading the charge against the occupiers, Simone's story became emblematic of the broader struggle for liberation, a narrative that would resonate long after the war had ended. In the weeks that followed, the resistance fighters continued to build on their momentum, launching further operations that disrupted German supply lines and communication networks. Each successful mission bolstered their confidence and further inspired the local population to join the fight. The capture of the German soldiers ignited a spark of hope, a belief that liberation was not just a distant dream but an imminent reality. As the summer of 1944 drew to a close, the actions of Simone Seguin and her fellow resistance fighters would be remembered as a pivotal chapter in the history of Chartres. Their bravery and determination in the face of overwhelming odds had not only challenged the German occupiers but had also inspired a generation to rise against oppression. The story of their struggle would become a part of the collective memory of the French resistance, a testament to the power of ordinary individuals to effect extraordinary change. The successful capture of 25 German soldiers by Simone Seguin and her fellow resistance fighters sent shockwaves throughout the region. It was a bold statement of defiance against the occupying forces and a testament to the growing strength and audacity of the French resistance. The immediate repercussions of this daring operation were felt not only by the German command but also by the local population, who found renewed hope in the face of adversity. In the days following the operation, the morale of the resistance fighters soared. The capture was a tangible victory, a validation of their efforts and sacrifices. It demonstrated that the resistance was not only capable of challenging the German military, but also of achieving significant strategic gains. This newfound confidence emboldened the resistance, leading to an increase in both the frequency and scale of their operations. However, the victory came with its own set of moral dilemmas and consequences. The resistance fighters were acutely aware that their actions could provoke severe reprisals from the German occupiers. The capture of the soldiers was a significant blow to the German command, and they would not respond lightly. In the weeks that followed, the occupiers intensified their efforts to root out resistance members, leading to increased violence against the civilian population. House raids, arrests, and executions became more frequent as the Germans sought to quell the rising tide of resistance. The effect of the capture extended beyond the resistance fighters themselves. The local population, long subjected to the harsh realities of occupation, was inspired by the bravery and success of the young fighters. Stories of Simone's leadership and courage circulated through the towns and villages of Chartres, igniting a spark of defiance among the civilians. Many who had previously been hesitant to join the resistance now felt compelled to take action, swelling the ranks of the Francs-Tireurs partisans. However, this surge of support was not without its complexities. The moral implications of resistance actions weighed heavily on the minds of many civilians. While the desire for liberation was palpable, the fear of German reprisals loomed large. Families were torn between the instinct to resist and the instinct to protect their loved ones. The resistance fighters, including Simone, grappled with the knowledge that their actions could lead to suffering for innocent civilians. This moral dilemma was a constant presence, shaping the decisions made in the heat of battle and the strategies employed in the fight against the occupiers. The German command, caught off guard by the audacity of the resistance, was forced to reassess their strategy. The capture of their soldiers was a stark reminder of the growing threat posed by the resistance, prompting a crackdown on suspected collaborators. The occupiers intensified their efforts to root out resistance members, leading to increased violence and reprisals against the civilian population. Yet, despite the heightened danger, the resolve of the resistance fighters only strengthened. The success of the operation also had strategic implications for the broader war effort. The intelligence gathered from the captured soldiers provided valuable insights into German troop movements and supply lines, information that was relayed to the advancing Allied forces. This collaboration between the resistance and the Allies was crucial in coordinating efforts to liberate France, highlighting the vital role played by the resistance in the larger conflict. Simone Seguin's actions during this pivotal period exemplified the spirit of the resistance. Her bravery and strategic thinking had not only captured the attention of her peers but also challenged traditional perceptions of gender roles in warfare. As a young woman leading the charge against the occupiers, Simone's story became emblematic of the broader struggle for liberation, a narrative that would resonate long after the war had ended. The consequences of the resistance's actions were profound. The capture of the German soldiers marked a turning point in the struggle for liberation, galvanizing the local populace and inspiring a collective effort against the occupiers. Yet, it also served as a reminder of the complexities and moral dilemmas inherent in warfare. The resistance fighters were not only battling against an external enemy but also navigating the intricate web of human relationships, loyalties, and fears within their own communities. As the summer of 1944 progressed, the stakes continued to rise. The resistance fighters, emboldened by their recent success, launched further operations, each one a calculated risk that could tip the balance in their favor or lead to devastating consequences. The German command, now acutely aware of the growing threat posed by the resistance, intensified their efforts to root out collaborators, leading to increased violence and reprisals against the civilian population. Yet, despite the heightened danger, the resolve of the resistance fighters only strengthened. As the liberation of Chartres loomed on the horizon, the transformation of Simone Seguin from an underestimated teenager to a symbol of defiance and resilience became increasingly evident. Her actions during the capture of the German soldiers had not only shifted the dynamics of the resistance but also challenged societal norms and perceptions of gender roles in warfare. Simone's journey from a young girl in the quiet town of Chartres to a formidable resistance fighter was a testament to her courage and determination. Her involvement in the resistance had begun with a fierce desire to see her homeland freed from the grip of occupation. Armed with a stolen rifle and an unyielding spirit, she had joined the ranks of the Francs-Tireurs et partisans, participating in sabotage missions and skirmishes that disrupted German operations. The capture of the German soldiers was a defining moment in Simone's journey. It was a bold demonstration of her leadership and strategic acumen, qualities that had often been overlooked due to her age and gender. In a society where traditional gender roles were deeply entrenched, Simone's actions challenged the status quo, highlighting the vital contributions of women in the resistance movement. As news of her bravery spread, Simone became a symbol of defiance, not only for her fellow resistance fighters but also for the broader French populace. Her story resonated with civilians who had endured the hardships of occupation, inspiring them to take action and join the fight for liberation. Simone's transformation from an underestimated teenager to a respected leader was emblematic of the broader struggle for freedom, a narrative that transcended age and gender. However, the aftermath of the operation was not without its complexities. The German response to the resistance's growing audacity was swift and brutal. In the wake of the capture, the occupiers intensified their crackdown on suspected resistance members and collaborators. The streets of Chartres became a battleground of fear and repression, as the German military sought to reassert control over the region. Families were torn apart, and communities were left to grapple with the consequences of resistance actions. Simone and her fellow fighters were acutely aware of the risks they faced. The moral implications of their actions weighed heavily on their minds. While the desire for liberation was palpable, the fear of German reprisals loomed large. Families were torn between the instinct to resist and the instinct to protect their loved ones. The resistance fighters, including Simone, grappled with the knowledge that their actions could lead to suffering for innocent civilians. This moral dilemma was a constant presence, shaping the decisions made in the heat of battle and the strategies employed in the fight against the occupiers. Despite the dangers, Simone's leadership and bravery continued to inspire those around her. The local population, emboldened by her actions, began to see the possibility of liberation as a tangible reality. The resistance movement gained momentum, drawing in individuals from all walks of life who were united by a common goal, the liberation of France. Simone's story became a rallying point, a symbol of hope in a time of despair. As the liberation of Chartres drew nearer, the resistance efforts intensified. The German occupiers, aware of the growing threat posed by the resistance, were increasingly on the defensive. The capture of the German soldiers had not only deprived them of manpower but also provided valuable intelligence that aided the advancing Allied forces. Collaboration between the resistance and the Allies was instrumental in coordinating efforts to liberate France, underscoring the vital role played by the resistance in the larger conflict. Simone's transformation from an underestimated teenager to a symbol of defiance was a powerful narrative that resonated long after the war had ended. Her story became a part of the larger narrative of French resistance against Nazi occupation, a testament to the power of ordinary individuals to effect extraordinary change. It was a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope and courage could prevail. While the war drew to a close, Simone Seguin's legacy as a symbol of defiance and resilience was cemented. Her actions during the liberation of Chartres became a part of the collective memory of the French resistance, a narrative that celebrated the bravery and determination of those who had fought for freedom. Simone's story was a poignant reminder of the power of individuals to effect change, a legacy that would inspire future generations to stand up against oppression. In the years that followed, the narrative of Simone Seguin continued to evolve. As France began the process of rebuilding and healing, the contributions of the resistance were recognized and celebrated. Monuments and memorials were erected to honor the bravery and sacrifices of those who had fought for liberation. Simone Seguin's name became synonymous with the spirit of the resistance, a symbol of defiance and resilience that transcended age and gender. The impact of Simone's actions extended beyond the immediate context of the war. Her story challenged traditional perceptions of women's roles in warfare, highlighting the critical contributions of women in the fight against oppression. In a time when women were often relegated to supporting roles, Simone's leadership and bravery demonstrated that they were equally capable of effecting change on the front lines. Simone's legacy was not only a celebration of her individual achievements but also a recognition of the collective efforts of the resistance. Her story was emblematic of the broader struggle for freedom, a narrative that celebrated the bravery and determination of those who had fought against tyranny. It was a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope and courage could prevail, inspiring future generations to stand up against oppression. As the years passed, Simone Seguin's story continued to inspire and resonate with people around the world. Her legacy was a testament to the power of individuals to effect change, a narrative that celebrated the resilience and determination of those who had fought for freedom. It was a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming odds, ordinary individuals could make a significant impact. Today, Simone Seguin's story is a poignant reminder of the power of ordinary individuals to effect extraordinary change in times of crisis. Her legacy is a celebration of the bravery and determination of those who fought for freedom, a narrative that continues to inspire future generations to value resilience and courage in the face of tyranny. In the aftermath of World War II, the story of Simone Seguin and her pivotal role in the liberation of Chartres became an integral part of the larger narrative of French resistance against Nazi occupation. Her bravery and strategic acumen during the capture of 25 German soldiers was celebrated in various commemorations, and she emerged as a symbol of youthful courage and determination. The legacy of her actions, along with those of her fellow resistance fighters, served to inspire future generations to value freedom and resilience in the face of tyranny. As France began the arduous process of rebuilding and healing after the devastation of war, the contributions of the resistance were recognized and celebrated. Monuments and memorials were erected to honor the bravery and sacrifices of those who had fought for liberation. Streets were named after resistance heroes, and local schools incorporated the stories of these brave individuals into their curricula, ensuring that the lessons of courage and sacrifice would not be forgotten. Simone Seguin's name became synonymous with the spirit of the resistance, a symbol of defiance and resilience that transcended age and gender. The post-war period also saw a cultural renaissance in France, as artists, writers, and filmmakers sought to capture the experiences of the war and the resistance. Simone's story was immortalized in literature and film, becoming a source of inspiration for countless works that celebrated the bravery of ordinary individuals who stood up against oppression. Documentaries chronicled the resistance efforts, highlighting the contributions of young fighters like Simone, whose actions had a profound impact on the course of the war. In addition to artistic representations, the French government took steps to formally recognize the contributions of the resistance. In 1946, the National Order of the Legion of Honor, France's highest distinction, was awarded to many members of the resistance, including Simone Seguin. This recognition not only honored their bravery but also served to solidify their place in the national narrative of liberation. The French government sought to ensure that the sacrifices made by the resistance were acknowledged and celebrated, reinforcing the idea that their actions were crucial in France's fight for freedom. As the years passed, Simone Seguin's story continued to inspire and resonate with people around the world. Her legacy became a symbol of the fight for justice and equality, transcending national boundaries. In the context of the post-war world, where many nations grappled with the aftermath of conflict and the quest for self-determination, Simone's story served as a beacon of hope. Her actions exemplified the power of ordinary individuals to effect extraordinary change, a narrative that celebrated the resilience and determination of those who had fought for freedom. The impact of Simone's actions extended beyond the immediate context of the war. Her story challenged traditional perceptions of women's roles in warfare, highlighting the critical contributions of women in the fight against oppression. In a time when women were often relegated to supporting roles, Simone's leadership and bravery demonstrated that they were equally capable of effecting change on the front lines. This shift in perception was significant, as it laid the groundwork for future generations of women to take on active roles in various fields, including politics, military service, and social activism. In the decades following the war, Simone Seguin became a prominent figure in discussions surrounding women's rights and empowerment. Her story was often cited in feminist literature and activism, illustrating the importance of recognizing and celebrating women's contributions to history. As the feminist movement gained momentum in the 1960s and 1970s, Simone's legacy served as a powerful reminder of the strength and resilience of women in the face of adversity. Moreover, the narrative of the French Resistance, with figures like Simone at its forefront, contributed to a broader understanding of the complexities of war and occupation. The resistance was not a monolithic entity. It comprised individuals from diverse backgrounds, ideologies, and motivations. This diversity enriched the narrative of resistance, highlighting the importance of collaboration and solidarity among different groups in the fight against oppression. Simone's story exemplified this spirit of unity, as she worked alongside individuals from various walks of life, united by a common goal, the liberation of France. As the world entered the 21st century, the legacy of Simone Seguin continued to be honored and remembered. Commemorative events were held annually in Chartres and other cities across France, celebrating the contributions of the resistance and the sacrifices made by those who fought for freedom. These events served as a reminder of the importance of remembering history, ensuring that the lessons learned from the past would not be forgotten. In 2019, to mark the 75th anniversary of the liberation of Chartres, a special exhibition was organized at the local museum, dedicated to the resistance and its heroes. The exhibition featured photographs, artifacts, and personal testimonies from resistance fighters, including Simone Seguin. Visitors were invited to engage with the history of the resistance, fostering a sense of connection to the past and an understanding of the ongoing relevance of these stories in contemporary society. Simone's legacy also found expression in educational initiatives aimed at teaching young people about the importance of resistance, courage, and social justice. Schools across France incorporated lessons on the resistance into their curricula, ensuring that students understood the significance of standing up against tyranny and oppression. These educational efforts aimed to instill a sense of responsibility in future generations, encouraging them to be active participants in the fight for justice and equality. In addition to formal education, grassroots movements emerged, inspired by the spirit of the resistance. Activists and community organizers drew upon Simone's story to advocate for social change, addressing issues such as inequality, discrimination, and human rights violations. The narrative of the resistance served as a powerful tool for mobilization, reminding individuals of the importance of collective action in the pursuit of justice. Simone Seguin's story became a part of the larger narrative of French resistance against Nazi occupation, a testament to the power of ordinary individuals to effect extraordinary change. Her actions during the liberation of Chartres became a part of the collective memory of the French resistance, a narrative that celebrated the bravery and determination of those who had fought for freedom. Simone's story was a poignant reminder of the power of individuals to effect change, a legacy that would inspire future generations to stand up against oppression. In the years following the war, Simone Seguin remained active in commemorative events and discussions surrounding the resistance. She often spoke about her experiences, sharing her insights with younger generations and emphasizing the importance of remembering history. Her voice became a vital part of the ongoing dialogue about the role of the resistance in shaping modern France, ensuring that the sacrifices made by her comrades would not be forgotten. As she aged, Simone continued to advocate for peace and justice, drawing upon her experiences as a resistance fighter to inspire others. Her story resonated with individuals around the world who sought to challenge oppression and fight for their rights. Simone Seguin became a symbol of hope, a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming odds, courage and determination could prevail. Today, Simone Seguin's legacy is a celebration of the bravery and resilience of those who fought for freedom. Her story continues to inspire individuals to value courage and determination in the face of tyranny. It serves as a reminder that the fight for justice is ongoing, and that the lessons learned from the past must guide our actions in the present. As we reflect on the legacy of Simone Seguin and the French resistance, we are reminded of the importance of standing up against oppression, of the power of collective action, and of the indomitable spirit of those who dare to challenge the status quo. Her story is a testament to the enduring impact of individuals who refuse to be silenced, who rise up against injustice, and who inspire others to do the same. In the Simone Seguin's legacy is not just a story of one young woman's bravery, it is a narrative that encapsulates the spirit of resistance, France's fight for freedom, and the unwavering belief in the power of hope. It is a legacy that will continue to resonate for generations to come, reminding us all of the importance of courage, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of justice.